We're gonna talk about earthquakes? No, yeah, I thought you want to talk about baseball.
Where are you on the Astros sign stealing scandal and the resulting punishment?
I wasn't going to be answering no Astros questions today.
That's right, Rook. That's right, Rook.
Baseball's where I belong. I don't care what field. I love this team. I want to be here forever. I want to be the Padres forever. But baseball is what I always love.
Since we're in the moment, is there a more annoying sports phrase than "get in the hole"?
Oh, you're saying for this? Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Caswell. It's Friday. Yay, we made it. We are brought to you, thankfully, by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Why am I hearing an echo? Guys, give me 1 second. I'm hearing a weird echo. 1 second, please. Here we go. All right. If someone's in the chat, can you let me know if you're hearing an echo? Because I'm hearing it. Hopefully it's gone now. Anyways, it's Friday. We made it. Day one of the NFL draft. I hope you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I still love the draft. I know we have no NFL team here. We have no one here that we really care about, but I enjoy watching it, especially when there's quarterbacks involved. And of course, the drama around Shedeur Sanders, who remains there for day two. All right. I'm excited for today's show. The Padres are back home after that red-shirt performance on Wednesday. I know it's easy for fans to get too high and too low, but they shouldn't, because we saw, that was the worst game of the season, but understand what they're without Luis Ariz, Jackson Merrill, Lockridge, Cronenworth. I think today we'll get some hopeful news on when these players could come back. Hopefully we'll see Luis Ariz after the off day on Monday, and he returns Tuesday versus the Giants, and perhaps they'll see Jackson Merrill and Brandon Lockridge as well, followed by Jake Cronenworth next month. So Padres, the walking wounded, they'll be back soon. When they are back, I'm curious to see what happens with the future for players like, Jason Hayward, of course, who's dealing with a knee inflammation, and Yuli Gurriel, who really hasn't done much for the Padres. To set up today's show, we are going to check in with hitting coach Victor Rodriguez. I had a great conversation with him at the last homestand. This is before the Padres presented Luis Ariz. It was Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill with their Silver Sluggers, and also talked to him about getting a standing ovation from fans on opening day. About being a hitting coach and how he connects with the players. If you're Tatis and Machado, you've gone through so many hitting coaches during your tenure with the Padres. That's coming up momentarily, a conversation with Victor Rodriguez. And this is a different conversation. Tom Telesco, the former GM of the San Diego Chargers, then Los Angeles. Yeah, I know. And then the Raiders will join me to talk about the NFL draft process and how hard it is to get the quarterback right. You can look no further than AJ Preller's favorite team, the New York Giants, who took Daniel Jones a couple of years ago in the first round and then traded up yesterday to take Jackson Dart late in the first round as well. I see it. Yeah, I see you, Daniel. Go Chargers. We'll see about that. Thanks, Greasy. Let's go, Marty. No echo. I'm hearing an echo in my head, so I'm distracted. I'm also distracted by the leaf blowers on PB Drive. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and bring you a conversation with Victor Rodriguez. And we started with him talking about his players being honored with the Silver Slugger. That's when Manny Machado decided to have the hitting coaches present them with the awards rather than Padres front office. Here's a quick conversation with Victor Rodriguez on the Padres hitters led by Tatis, the special Jackson Merrill, also Gavin Sheets, who's become an important role player for this team, really a starter for this team, and how he connects with his players. Here's Victor Rodriguez, the Padres hitting coach.
Good to see good players being recognized and we be part of just making sure that they prepare to play the game, and when they get those kind of rewards for the work that they do, it always feels good.
Manny Machado, of course, had the resumes. He's halfway to that Hall of Fame. But how impressive to see what Jackson Merrill and the transition he made from the minors to the majors. He made it so easy. What was the biggest key for him that you focused on?
I think this is a kid with a lot of confidence, and he knew what he wanted. He understood the kind of player he is, and he stuck with the preparation and routine, and he was consistent with it. Even the days that he wanted, he stuck with it. He trusted, and he competed well.
Sheets has fit in seamlessly to this Padres team. What are some of the adjustments that you focused on working with him in spring training?
Well, this kid, I saw him when he was with the White Sox and I was with Cleveland. I always like his swing. I think it's a matter of just getting him comfortable and confidence with who he was first, and we make a couple adjustments with the stride just to get him in a better position, better direction to the ball, and he's been as good as it gets.
You said you made adjustments with a strike?
Right, with the lower half.
Okay.
So, but it was simple. It wasn't a big thing, and he took it. He trusted, and he's putting together good at bats.
Speaking of good at bats, I know that Fernando Tatis talked about feeling relieved when he hit that massive home run yesterday. After the shoulder scare, what kind of approach do you want to see with Fernando specifically to make sure that he can protect that shoulder?
No, I think he was healthy. So I think it was a lot of people worried about his shoulder because he had issues in the past, but he felt real good because he didn't feel anything. He probably felt a tweak, but after he took swings in the cage and batting practice, we all knew he was in a good place by the way the ball was coming out of the bat.
When you have a player like Luis Arias, who's won 3 straight batting titles, which is rather remarkable for 3 straight teams, do you tinker anything with him, or do you go ahead and you just do your thing?
Exactly right. You don't mess around with guys like that. Win 3 batting titles, it's not by mistakes. It's because he's a good hitter. So you just make sure that you're there to help him with what he needs, and just remind him a couple things and here and there. But a guy like that, you just don't mess around with him. You let him go.
I don't know if this is a simple question, but how did you connect so easily with your players? Of course, when you were hired, you had history with Xander Bogaerts, I think, in Boston. But with the rest of the guys who had gone through so many hitting coaches, what was it that you were able to connect with them and get through to them?
Well, I think the communication before the spring training, they understand what I was going to bring, and they were on board and trusted. And without them, it's no way we could have done it. Hitting coaches can bring a lot of good things, the right thing to do. But if the players are not committed to do it, or you don't have good players, it's not going to happen.
I imagine tonight's going to be very, very rewarding for you to watch that ceremony.
Of course, it's going to be fun. It's always fun to see the guys, good players like that getting rewarded in front of the crowd.
I saw Jason Adam wearing a Holy Sheets T-shirt. Have you gotten your T-shirt yet?
Not yet. But Gavin Sheets is a kid that I appreciate a lot because I played with his dad. Back in 1978 in Bluefield, and so I have a connection with him through his dad. So.
Did you see him when he was? How old was he when?
No, he was born after his father retired. Yeah, he's young. But I played with his dad when I was 16 years old. His father was 17. Back in Bluefield, West Virginia, 1978. So I think he was born 20-some years ago.
What about him reminds you of his dad?
Everything. His body, his swing. His father was a good hitter. So everything about him, it reminds me of his dad. His father was a right-handed thrower. That's the only thing. Yeah.
What sort of potential do you see with him in this system? A chance to play every day.
Well, he's a young kid. You have a young kid like that with that talent. You can have that kid for a while, and that's something that's going to help the organization. You find young players like that you can control, and they can do what he's been doing. Then they're going to have a good player for a while.
Sorry, guys. Are we still hearing an echo? I'm still hearing an echo. It's been distracting. I hope it's not coming out on this feed. So that was Padres hitting coach Victor Rodriguez, clearly from the last homestand. He's talking about the ceremony, honoring his players, connecting with his players, and also got to get Xander Bogaerts going. The Padres have to get Xander Bogaerts going. I know it's easy to talk about why is Mason McCoy here, Yuli Gurriel, his production, Jason Hayward, when he does come back for the Padres, man, they have got to get Xander Bogaerts going with the rest of this offense. So it'll be tonight. It'll be Michael King at Petco Park, where the Padres are 12-1, followed by Dylan Cease. I think the team's website still had it as TBD on Sunday, but we'll see. A quick homestand, off day Monday. The Giants, man, I am excited. I've been talking about this a long time now. I can't wait for these division games. I would like more head-to-head matchups. It's going to be so much fun. Games at Petco have been awesome to begin with, but the Giants with, yes, sleepy Bob Melvin. That's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. As I promised, the NFL draft is underway. We're going to catch up next with a former Chargers and Raiders GM, Tom Telesco. He lasted all of 1 year under Mark Davis once Tom Brady was hired to do whatever it is he is doing. But here is Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco from the Chargers talking about literally the most important position when you are an NFL GM. You've got to get the number one thing you have to get right is the quarterback. Here's a conversation with Tom Telesco. As promised, I'm delighted to go ahead and talk with an old friend and familiar face in former Chargers and Raiders general manager Tom Telesco. Back in the day, there was no one that I professionally harassed more than Tom Telesco, whether it came to seeing him at Chargers Park, talking about injuries, trying to pick his brain on the draft. And you know how guarded GMs are. But Tom, how are you? It's so good to see you after all this time.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, good to see you. It's been a long time. I know you were one of the few from San Diego that would go out to the combine every year, I think. And, because you got so into that. But yeah, now it's just it feels like so long ago when I was with the San Diego Chargers. It seems like, forever ago.
It does. It's a lifetime ago. And just so you know, full disclosure, when I would go out to the combines, right, I'm always out there trying to run after you with my gosh, it was like a flip cam back then, right? This is like before everyone had these professional
camcorder.
My camcorders, my flip cams, my tripods. The tripod's still going. It's on its last leg, but there was nothing. I took vacations. I took vacations because there was nothing for me, nothing more fun than the NFL Combine, followed by the NFL Draft and the schedule release. So yesterday, a little bit of FOMO watching day one of the draft.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why, I always respected what you did because you had such a passion for it. And, you don't see that every day. Like a lot of people who work in the media, they do it because they're good at it or, it pays the bills. But you had like a passion for the draft, a passion for football. But just seeing you at the combine and doing all that work, and that's like, for anybody in the media that really loves it, there's just so much content there between the college players and then all the head coaches that are there, the GMs, every agent in America is there.
Yep.
All the media is there. So it's like one-stop shopping for content.
And as you know, the most valuable information comes at whichever bar is around somewhere in Indy. That's where I got my best content. But let me tell you this, Tom, before I get into just some of I would love for you to take us behind the scenes of what goes in the process of a draft board. How difficult it is to find a quarterback, and you found a great one when you were the Chargers in Justin Herbert. But I caught up with I caught up with AJ Preller, Padres GM AJ Preller at Petco Park last week, and we were talking about you because, of course, he's amped about his New York Giants. Of course, they traded up to get Jackson Dart in the late in the first round on Thursday. But he said that when you were the GM, he would text you all the time, trying not to ask you about your team, but trying to get intel on what his New York Giants were doing. Can you go ahead now and reveal any of those conversations and what a pain in the butt he was to you?
I'll tell you what, he is a huge Giants fan. It helps that the head coach of the Giants right now, Brian Dable, I went to high school with Brian, so I know Brian extremely well. But yeah, I could tell AJ is a huge Giant fan. There's no doubt about it. I can't even remember. Yeah, he'd ask me some things, and then I think the Giants were coming to play us here, and he texted me. He's like, "Hey, I want to come to the game." I'm like, and I'm thinking, who are we playing? Well, we're playing the Giants. Of course, you want to come to the Giants game,
right? Of course.
But yeah, you know what? I'm the same way about some basketball and baseball teams. As far as you kind of want, as a GM, you'd like to see how other GMs work and what they do, and kind of get their knowledge. And we've used baseball a lot. Just because the baseball scouting is so much more difficult than what we do. They have much more wide range of players as far as ages, all the way from a senior in high school all the way through college. They have more players to look at, more to cover. They've got different countries to cover. So we used to spend a lot of time with different people in baseball just to get some different ideas, different tricks of the trade. I did it with Josh Burns when Josh was the GM of the Padres. I did it with Billy Epler a lot with the Angels. I learned a ton from Billy Epler, just how he set up all the information, because baseball has more information than we do. And then AJ he's just super sharp. I need to come down to a Padres game this year. I'd love just to hang out and talk ball with him. But yeah, I can tell he has a definite passion for the Giants. And I'm a big Jackson Dart fan. I like Jackson Dart a lot, so I think that's a great pick.
Okay. I'll make sure that I pass this information on to AJ Preller, even though I'm sure he probably texted you at 2:00 in the morning or some inappropriate time to go ahead and get this information. So I'll make sure to pass it on.
Yeah, please do.
All right, Tom, I'm surprised you said that it's harder to go ahead and find that in baseball. The one advantage that you do have in baseball is you have time to go ahead after you draft to develop. There's a process, right? No one's expected to come straight out from being drafted and make an immediate impact unless you're maybe your Paul Skeens of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But how hard is it to get it right? What's the most important thing that you have to look for when you are drafting a player?
Well, I know with baseball and football, like with baseball, they have to project so far down the road, which I think is so difficult to do, to look at a 16, 17-year-old kid and project him when he's 23, 24 years old. It's amazing to me. As far as football scouting, the easier part with us is there's a really hard filter they go through from being recruited out of high school. And then you go to college for a minimum of 3 years and play against really good college players. And that kind of is our normal filter to see if they can play it at this level. But for us, it's that transition from college to pro that, it's not easy. It really isn't. Even if you went to Alabama or Georgia and you're coming in a little bit more polished, it's the transition to the pro game where you're playing against adults on a daily basis. And trying to really combine all the physical skills that we can look at while we watch them play and combine that with the intangible part of it, the character, the mental, the work ethic, to be able to, being prepared, the work ethic, the drive to be great, and try to combine all that. And then the third part of that is the analytics side, all the data we receive, and try and put that puzzle together and make a decision on a player. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of increase your odds to be right, but there's also a lot of areas in there that can turn you down the wrong path.
I think for just about every team in NFL, the biggest focus is going to be getting the quarterback right? If you have the quarterback right, you can go ahead and work your way up or down from that point. Why is it so hard to go ahead and get the quarterback right? And we're seeing that unfold right now in this year's draft.
It's just a really difficult position to scout because it's so much more than just the physical ability of size and strength and speed and arm strength. There's so much of that position that is from the neck up as far as processing, decision making. And then, the quarterback is going to be the leader of the team. He's going to be the face of your franchise. And there's a lot that comes with that. And some players can handle it and some players can't. But it's by far the most difficult position to scout. It's the hardest to find because the pool is so small. And you can see why, I've seen the last couple of days where people saying, reaching for quarterbacks in the first round, and you can say it's reaching, but in the end, if you need a starting quarterback, and you see a college quarterback with starter traits, you have to take them because if you wait till free agency, it's very few times is there a quarterback available in free agency that is a bona fide long-term starting quarterback. And if he gets to free agency, it's usually a pretty big reason why. So if you can't find it in free agency, you have to get it in the draft. And the bigger thing in the draft is the rookie contract that the quarterback has is so much smaller than a quarterback you would sign maybe as a bridge starter or as a long-term starter. So you have all that extra money you can spend on another position. So you combine, the rookie wage scale for a quarterback, plus they're so hard to find, you have to take them in the first round. That's why you're seeing more quarterbacks taken in the first, not as many in the second. There's kind of a gap there. And then, in the third round, there'll be some quarterbacks that go, but it's not an easy position to evaluate.
What do you look for specifically? What do GMs look for most specifically when it comes to the quarterback? And you're mentioning, the skill set has to be there. The leadership is there as well. But what's the one thing that game film cannot measure for a starting quarterback?
The game film really that's what live games are so great about with watching quarterbacks is just to watch quarterbacks on the sideline in between series, how they interact with their coaches, how they interact with their teammates. What their reactions are after a bad series, what their reactions are after a good series, and how they handle that. And that's the great eval from a game day, just to watch them walk the sidelines. Who are they talking to? What are they doing? What are they focused on? What's their body language like? How do other players react to them? And those are all things that you can't see on tape. The other part of the live game is you get a feel, that in-game feel of when a quarterback has to make a play and he does it. You get the crowd noise, you get a better feel for the down and distance situation. Sometimes when we watch tape of any player, it's very sterile. There's no sound. Before each play, when we're watching tape of a player, it will show the scoreboard. So it shows the down, distance, yard line, time on the clock, but you don't have that same game field. So with quarterbacks, a lot of times we'd watch game tape. We'd also watch TV copies of games because you get a better feel for the back and forth of the game there. But so those are all the things we need to see on quarterbacks. And then when you flip into the physical aspects, we all would like, Justin Herbert,
Right.
6'6", 240 pounds, really fast for his size, a great athlete. He was a multi-sport high school player, big, strong arm. But probably the most important trait for a quarterback physically is accuracy. Being able to make a decision and be accurate with the football and kind of anticipate when players are coming open. Because in college, as a quarterback, you can typically wait for the player to be open. And then if you have an arm like Justin, you can just drill it and just rocket the ball into an open area, complete a ball. In the NFL, they're open for such small areas of time. And typically you have to anticipate when the opening is going to be there and let the ball go early. That's something that college quarterbacks sometimes don't always have to do, that you have to do at this level. Justin does that tremendously well, where he just throws players open or anticipates where that window is going to be. Those things you can see on tape, but it's a big puzzle to put together.
The 2020 draft class was really, really intriguing. Perhaps one of the better ones we've had in the past decade or so. Joe Burrow easily the consensus #1 pick in that draft. But how much conversation was there? There was so much time spent, right? Social media and all the different talk shows about Tua versus Herbert. How much of did you guys know right on that he was the guy that you wanted?
So it's funny, that year was the COVID draft. So when we got to right after the combine, everything was shut down. So our buildings were shut down. We all had to work from home. So we're all separated. But in Justin Herbert's case, we thought he was going to declare for the draft the year before as a junior. So we'd done a lot of work on him, just like he was going to be in that draft. He ended up not being in that draft. And our scouting staff had him as a top quarterback. They loved him. And, sometimes you get a little bit biased in the area of the country, like him being on the West Coast and us being on the West Coast. We just saw him a lot, whether it's coming through USC, UCLA, where there's, for us, a quick flight up to Stanford to watch anybody who comes through Stanford, Arizona State. So we saw a lot of Justin Herbert. And then Oregon played in the Rose Bowl. And I had seen a lot of them, but at the Rose Bowl, when I was on the sidelines in pregame warmups and Oregon came running out of the tunnel. And I knew Justin had good size, but he was running by me and I'm looking up at him. I'm like, oh my God, like he is big and he's strong and he's athletic. And then in that particular Rose Bowl game, he ended up running the ball a good amount. And just, we were looking for a quarterback that has some mobility to him. That Anthony Lynn, that was a big part. And me too, I really wanted a quarterback that could move. And seeing him really run and move and with the football in that game really popped out. And then for us and our scouting staff and coaching staff at the Senior Bowl, Justin was just incredible as far as his leadership abilities, how he handled all of his new teammates there, how he practiced. We got a great feel for how he threw the deep ball at the Senior Bowl because he didn't throw as many deep balls at Oregon. Probably a smaller group of throws that way. He started adding everything up, and we got extremely lucky that the year that Phillip Rivers moves on, that we've got able to bring in Justin Herbert without a big gap. So I was worried after Phillip Rivers, if there's a big gap between Phillip Rivers and the next franchise quarterback, then I'm not going to be here very long. It's just You got to have a quarterback to win. So we got lucky. It didn't quite overlap with Phillip, but we got him at least back to back.
Now, by the way, it's a good thing that you were able to go ahead and scout him, on the West Coast before the Pac-12 realignment, because that would have been an absolute mess with Oregon's schedule, right?
Yeah, no kidding. But what's nice now with the realignment is we have all these Big Ten teams that come to the West Coast now, coming into USC, UCLA. So that actually is pretty cool.
How much do you pay? Now, not pay attention to. How much? Or what did you do with? Listen, fans love them. I know Daniel Jeremiah, our mutual friend, probably despises doing them, but they're fun. I love pouring over. How much did you pay attention to those things just to see what people were saying about you or your team?
You know what? Repeat that real quick because it kind of froze out on me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Daniel Jeremiah, our mutual friend, he puts out these mock drafts every single year. There's so much online debate about what's written in a mock draft. How much attention would you pay attention to those drafts when they would come out?
A lot. Yeah. Especially like a week or two before the draft, probably the most. Because what I was always looking for, because about 2 weeks before the draft, our work is all done. And at that point, it was all like draft management, trying to figure out where players are going to go and then how we maneuver to get the players that we want. So I used to use the mock drafts a lot just to come up with different scenarios that could happen. There was I think ESPN probably still has, I didn't have to do it this year, obviously, but the mock draft simulators where you can put in different specifications and different qualifications that could happen, and it kind of spits out a mock draft. I did that probably hundreds of times, late in the process, just trying to feel, okay, if this, and this happened, what would we do? Wait till you're on the clock, it's too late. So we try and go through every possible scenario beforehand. So I used to do that a lot. DJ is so well connected and he's so good at his job. His mock draft means a lot to me. Like he's not just guessing. Like that's really good, not only evaluation work, but talking with people in the league. And there's more and more like those. Now for a GM, you got to figure out which mock drafts have a good amount of effort and expertise in it. And some of them are just, guesses or just copying other people. I got pretty good in figuring out which ones were relevant, which ones weren't. But yeah, I use it a lot as like a practice round to see what would happen when we pick.
I don't know that too many of the top draft experts, NFL draft experts, had Shedeur Sanders going in the first round. Are you surprised though that he fell to the second round? And what sort of skill set do you see in him? I'm a little surprised he fell. I think I like his skill set a lot. There's a lot of things he has as a passer that are hard to find, as far as what I talked about earlier about decision-making, processing, anticipation, and accuracy. Those are really, really important traits to have as a quarterback. His arm is strong enough. It's not a cannon, but it's strong enough. He's not a top-level athlete, but I think he's athletic enough. He's played a lot of football, and he's tough. So I was a little surprised, but then when you look at it, there's only so many teams that have an open spot at quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, once a couple of teams pass, there's going to be this long, as we saw last night, between, like 3 and 21, where teams have starting quarterbacks. So they're just not going to invest a first-round pick on a starting quarterback. Now, the Falcons did last year with Penix, but this doesn't happen that often. So, we'll see today, where he goes. But, quarterbacks are different. There aren't that many spots that are open. And I was a big Jackson Dart fan, too. So I'm sure there were teams that like Jackson Dart better than Shedeur Sanders. And the teams that maybe like Shedeur better than Jackson Dart may have been a team that wasn't in the market for a quarterback. But I had a chance to see Shedeur a good amount. So when I was with the Raiders, I knew we were going to be in that quarterback market. So, I looked at all of these guys a lot last fall. And, I thought Shedeur had a lot of qualities that they're going to play well in this league. And they still will. It's just, I know for a college kid, you feel like you're being disrespected by being drafted later. In the end, he's going to be drafted. He's going to get on a good team and then just go make the best of it. He'll be the best player he can be right now. Maybe he'll carry that chip like Aaron Rodgers did all these years. Although he didn't fall the second round, he went late in that first round, and I think he's still kind of upset about that. But we'll see.
Hey, part of being a professional football player is playing with the chip on your shoulder. Everybody needs their motivation.
All right, 2 more things, Tom, and I'm so grateful for your time. And it's really, really good to talk to you because I miss the football conversation. I love covering baseball, love covering the Padres, but man, this time of year is when I wish we still had a team, an NFL team in San Diego. Okay, one of the last ties to San Diego, by the way, is Antonio Gates. Well, and he is of course being elected into Canton. He's going to the Hall of Fame this summer. Do you have one memory of Antonio Gates that stands out to you?
Yeah, probably more than one. First of all, he should have been elected the first time in. I
Agree.
cannot believe he didn't get elected the first time, but I wouldn't get too upset about that. We knew he was going to get in at some point.
Yes.
So I took the job in January of, I guess, 2013. And like your first time GM, like things are moving fast and we got the draft, we got free agency, the draft coming up and doing all this work. And then also when you have a new head coach, like we did, you get an extra mini camp and you get a couple extra days of OTAs. And it was like the first week, it was probably in April, even before the draft, where our players were on the field working out. And Antonio Gates, who I knew really well as an opponent, like when I was with the Colts, we had played against the Chargers a lot, and he had killed us, obviously.
Right.
But I knew him as a player, obviously, really, really well. And it's like week 1 of OTAs, and he is going full speed, 100 miles an hour, laying out for balls, running hard. And usually, early April for a veteran player, a Pro Bowl player. It's just kind of cruise control. Like I'll be ready for training camp. And we're standing in line getting some food for lunch, and he's in front of me. I tapped him. I'm like, just so you know, like, I love how you're practicing, but, we got a long time until August, so you can kind of pace yourself. And he looks at me. He's like, look, you don't know me, and I need to show you what I can do. I'm like, Antonio, like, I've seen you play for like 8-9 years. Like, I know what you can do, but that was just like his mentality as a college free agent. Like, I got to prove to you the type of player that I am. And with him, you take all his physical ability, which was outstanding, and then you add in that part, that motivation factor, that playing with a chip on his shoulder all the time. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. And then when our young players would see a player like him practice the way he does, and when they see a quarterback like Phillip Rivers, like watching film, totally 100% invested in football, then your young players kind of see that's the way things are supposed to be done. But I thought that was so cool to see a player of Antonio's magnitude putting that much work into an April OTA practice. But again, that's why he is who he is.
He is one of a kind, one of one. Now, speaking of Phillip Rivers, how much film have you seen on his son, Gunnar Rivers? There's nothing that makes you feel old than watching the son of a player that you covered, take that next step and be perhaps someone we're talking about in a couple of years when it comes draft time.
Yeah, no, I have not. I think I may have seen him, like, this is a long time ago, maybe some flag football.
Okay.
But if you look at the genes that he has, obviously, with his, his dad is, NFL professional player. And then the fact that his dad that Philip's a son of a coach, and now he is coaching. His son is getting the best possible instruction as a quarterback coming up the ladder. So it does not surprise me if his son's going to be a really good quarterback. Well, how old is he? I don't even know.
He's I think 17 years old, and he throws just like Phillip. He still has that. He has that arm angle. It's uncanny to watch it. Yes.
Hey, whatever works. I wouldn't change it. Yeah, whatever works.
All right, Tom, what's next for you? You get a little bit of downtime. 11 years, 12 years of honeydews for your wife, who had to endure you just working 24/7 around the clock, 365 days a year. Because as we know in football, there is no day off, especially this time. The NFL now.
No. Yeah, I guess this is forced downtime, but it's good. I think 30 years in the NFL, 12 as a GM, like it. And I'm not saying that our job is harder than what other people do, but it's a mental grind. Mm-hmm. And it's been a nice refresher, mind-wise and body-wise, to not have, not going through the draft process, free agency. There's always something to do as a GM. I love the job. Yeah. Love leading a group of people, but it can wear you out. So no, but just, some stuff around the house, a lot of things I never got a chance to do. I'm volunteering at the local high school with their football team, doing some things, and got a couple little projects on the side. And
awesome.
We'll kind of go from there. There's this, I'm going to come down and see a Padres game. Like, good. Even little things. Like last summer, I was planning on meeting DJ at a Padres game, and you just can't do it. Like, things come up, and I just can't make it. And so I'm going to go see my son play some college football next year on Saturdays, and just try and still be connected with football, but get a little bit of a break, and then hopefully we'll see what the next step is. I'm too young to retire, so we'll see what the next step is after that.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. And yes, DJ is always at Petco Park. I don't know how he has time to do everything he does for NFL Network and scouting and everything else in the mock drafts, but DJ is always there. I'm sure he will return next week to hopefully watch Jackson Merrill come off the injured list for the Padres when the San Francisco Giants are in town. It is such a pleasure to see you. When you come to Petco Park, make sure you let me know. We'll have to get that overdue beer. It's been a while. My best to your family, Tom. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You've been really good to me all these years, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Tell Darren Smith I said hello. And I'm coming on the Padres game. I want to see Tatis play again, because I think he'd have been a great NFL player. Great NFL player.
Wait. What position? Who is he? Is he Travis Hunter? Who is he? Who is Tatis?
I would so is he about 6'4", 6'3"?
Yes, 6'3".
About like 190.
He's a freak. He's an absolute freak.
So he's either going to be like an outside receiver, or maybe even a big corner. Or even like a bigger safety, like a Kyle Hamilton. But he has so much spring in his legs, and so explosive, and he's just a rare athlete. I wish we would have seen him in football. It would have been really exciting. But any event, great being on with you. And I'll see you down the road.
New rabbit hole. Thanks, Tom. Talk to you again.
right, take care.
So that was former Chargers and Raiders general manager Tom Telesco, just one of the good dudes that you're going to meet in sports. If you are in my profession and your job is to talk to people and get information, man, it's a pleasure when you have people like that who kind of get it and are just really, really good with their time and tell great stories. So Tom Telesco thinks that Tatis would have been a great NFL player. Now, that's a new rabbit hole I need to pursue. I need to have DJ do a breakdown on what position he would play if be a two-way player like Travis Hunter, what he's best suited for. All right. Speaking of the Padres, I saw earlier that they have optioned Kyle Hart to AAA, and they have brought up right-handed pitcher Ryan Berger. The Padres have all these extra off days, including Monday, and then I think Thursday of next week before they go on the road trip to the longer road trip. I think New York Yankees, Rockies, somewhere else. So they don't need Kyle Hart for now. It'll be interesting to see what they do with his rotation spot actually next month when hopefully Yu Darvish returns. But some small news at Petco Park. Kyle Hart has been optioned, and Ryan Berger has been recalled. So hopefully when I'm there later on today at Petco Park, then we're going to have more news on the Padres. I'm sure that Mike Schilt will say that he doesn't like to give timelines when it comes to when players can return, including Larissa Rice, who's eligible to come off Tuesday since they have an off day Monday. And then hopefully we'll have some progression from Jackson Merrill, who stayed behind with Brandon Lockridge. They were dribbling that last game at Petco Park. And I know Mike Schultz said that the next step for them was going to be jogging and sprinting. So hopefully we will have more of an update today. Michael King goes today. Dylan C. Saturday. I think still TBD on Sunday. I think it's Ryan. It's going to be Vasquez as spot rotation. We'll see what happens there if they skip him with the off days. All right, guys. Thanks for indulging me today. I'm sorry about the echo issues. I'm sorry about the leaf blower. The on cue started right at 12 o'clock when we started this show. I'll be at Petco Park this weekend, hopefully with some updates. You'll find all my content here, Marty Time TV, on Twitter at Marty Caswell, at Marty Caswell, Instagram at Marty Caswell 619. And thank you all for your time. Thank you again to Hamul, the all new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I will talk to you guys this weekend, but we'll gather back here on Monday. And of course, AJ Cassavell joins the show on Tuesday. So if you have any more questions for AJ Cassavell come Tuesday, remember to send them here, post them later on this live chat on YouTube or any of my social feeds. Thanks for your time, and have a great weekend. It's Friday, guys. We made it. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy SDFC. I know Tom said to shout out Darren Smith. Tom Telesco says hi. Darren, of course, does SDFC, where he does his outstanding work. We will talk to you Monday, everybody. Be good.